Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so essentially here's what's happening. How am I going to say it? I just had it a second ago. You know how people talk about how some of us are supposedly spiritually or energetically, or we're shifting timelines, or we're shifting to the new world? Well, there's something that is happening, whether you want to say it in that way or you want to, here's the way I want to say it right now. We are shifting back to real. Okay, here's what I mean. Okay, now I'm using a physical thing, which I don't normally do on this channel. Because normally this channel is about emotions, feelings, relationships, which are essentially emotions, energy, and spiritual. But here's the thing, energy is on every level, from the first dimension all the way up to the 14th, or depending on what level of dimensions go. We know, by the way, mathematically in physics have proven we have, I think it's either 14 dimensions or 11 dimensions. So those have already been proven scientifically. Now here's another thing. There was something on YouTube, it was some kind of spiritual thing, and someone said, oh, well, that's not what Jesus meant. What Jesus really meant was the division between the left and between your ego and your, I think it was your heart and your emotions. And essentially that's what I'm saying, between your left brain and your right brain, okay? And he said that's not going to actually happen on the physical plane. And I'm like, no. That doesn't mean it's one thing. It means on every level. Okay, see, and that's where a lot of people get mixed up when it comes to, let's just say, spiritual stuff, and we're going to use the Bible in a sense. They think, oh, well, it's just going to be like this spiritual thing. It's not going to happen on the physical level. No. It happens on mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, energetically, and financially. Okay, there's every level is going to be affected. See, this is what manifestation is. This is what answered prayers are. You pray in the spirit, you pray energetically, emotionally to connect to the spirit. So it's like you're reaching it. See, you can't pray logically and get results. You have to shift over to your emotions. A lot of people are just too impatient to do that, or they don't know how to do that. So once you shift into your emotions, boom, you are now, it's like you have a cord from the emotional level, then you can plug into the spiritual level, and then that manifestation will come down onto the physical level. I bet for a lot of you that was a really good explanation. I bet you've never heard it in that way, huh? Okay, this is me on the Golden Gate Bridge recently. I have more video. This was, I think, a week or two ago. Okay, now, here's what I'm talking about. I've been talking about silver, because here is what is happening. It is such a clear. I'm gonna leave another link of this. He calls himself Asian guy. I think he might actually be AI, but what he's saying is dead on. Okay, all the facts, the numbers, everything I've looked up and followed. So here's the thing that's happening is, before the stock market, which is what we call paper silver or paper gold or paper whatever. Okay, it's not real. Now here's the deal. They're supposed to have that. Okay, let's stick with silver. They're supposed to have that amount of silver in a vault somewhere. So if you ask for it, they can pay you in silver. They don't. They never do. They don't even. Not only do they not have even half of it, they never have half. In fact, they don't even have 25%. They have less than, I think it's 15% now, or even less than that. Alright, so here's what's happening. The bottom is falling out from underneath. People are calling their silver back, and the bankers don't have it. Now, okay, how do I say this? I'm a little bit too excited about what's going on, because it's the spiritual energy that has been shifting and affecting us emotionally is now affecting a physical entity. And it's not just silver. It's affecting everything on the planet. It's affecting the rules. People are waking up and seeing what's happening. Now watch how unfair they've made the game. Okay, so the stock market essentially is a scam, and it's completely weighed in the favor of the people of the banks, let's call them, okay, like JP Morgan and stuff like that. The rules that they make are so unfair. What I'm about to share with you is absolutely insanely, ridiculously unfair, and it's like, well, how can any of this be legal? because they're the one who makes the rules, because our government lets them, because our government is a part of it. We as a society have got to wake up and say, hey, this is not fair. Like, you can't just bail yourselves out. You can't just make different rules when you're losing. Like, that's just not fair. Because if you're losing $50,000, can you go to JP Morgan and say, hey, I'm losing out and I can't afford to lose this money, so I want to change the rules? They're going to look at you like, what? You're an idiot. No, you can't do that. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. So if you go to the casinos, and by the way, this is another thing that is on the same level of the stock market. The casinos make all the rules and the percentages completely, not 51%, but we're talking like 90+% in their favor. So they can't lose. In the long run, they can't lose. They also have another safety valve which ensures no matter what happens, they still can't lose. Now, here's something that I found out a few years ago. Well, actually, I found out a long time ago, and I thought, wow, that's just so unfair. So I'm going to give you a real life example. So Dana White is the CEO of the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship. The guy is unbelievably successful, and he has an unbelievable way of winning in life. So what he does is a lot of the UFC fights will be held at the casinos in Las Vegas, etc., right? So he gambles when he's there and he's waiting for the fights or he's in between interviews or whatever. And here's the thing. The guy is unbelievably good at winning. He just wins. So he's at this casino where they're holding the UFC fight, which is coming up. And I don't know if it was a week time or month's time or how long it took, but he was up $1.2 million winning. It was something like $1.2 million. It was a lot of money, whatever it was. They came in and said, hey, sir, sorry, but we're going to have to kick you out of our casino. And he's like, you're joking. They're like, no, we can't allow you to win that much money. So if you start winning a lot of money, like 100,000, 200,000, like you're on a winning streak, they will literally say, hey, you've got to stop. They will physically remove you. Now, what they do, now you got to understand, Dana White is a multi-millionaire who's connected to billionaires. They banned him from the casino. I don't know if it's for a lifetime or if it's for a year, but they banned him from the casino. Now you think, well, what did he do? Did he get in a fight? Was he drunk and he was falling all over the place? No, he was just winning, playing by their rules that are favored in their favor. Now wait till you see what the government and the big bankers are doing when it comes to the stock market and investing. It's the same thing. It's in their favor. It's always in their favor. And it will always be in their favor. So here's what's happening. Because there is no silver in the vaults. Okay, let me see if I can find something I wrote. Hold on. Actually, let me do it off the top of my head. I think it'll be simpler, easier, and faster because I don't want to make this too long. So here's what's going on. For the first time in the history, the demand for silver is far more than what the mines are producing, and it's far more than what the vaults that are holding physical silver have. Not only that, but different massive companies' ownerships went into the vaults, like the Vault of London and around other countries. They've pulled out since January 73% of all the silver. So now, what's the problem? If you have what they call paper silver, meaning you just you did it through a computer on stocks, they don't have that silver to back up what you own. So let's say you've invested, I don't know, $1,000 or $5,000 in silver, and now it's valued at like $50,000 in silver. You can't walk in today and actually get that silver because, number one, it's not there. And I'll tell you something that never was. It's just like, when you get a loan at a bank, they don't have that money in the bank. It's just a digit on a computer screen. That's all it is. There is no money. There is no gold to back it. There is no it is just a number on a freaking computer. So when they write that check to pay for your car to the car dealership and you got to make the monthly payment, there's no money in that check. They just take that check. The car dealership brings it to their bank, or maybe it's the same bank, and they put digits in their account. It's not real. There's nothing backing it up. It's fake. And this is what is happening between the people who are physically holding real silver in their hand versus people who just have what's called paper silver on paperwork. Well, I, paid this bank or this much money to this organization online, and I own this much. You don't own the silver. There is no silver. If you're not holding it, you don't own it. It's just a number. It's not real. And here's the thing: for the first time in the history, they can't back it up, even if they wanted to. Even if JP Morgan wanted to go to China and say, hey, we need to buy 10 million pounds of silver, they can't. Because they don't have it. Not only that, but China just passed such strict rules to trade outside of China that I think it was 93% of all the trading companies do not qualify and therefore can't. And the other 7%, everything that they're going to sell outside of the country has to go through the Ministry of China, and they have to okay it. Now here's the deal. China is highly invested in computers and stuff like that. China doesn't have enough silver to put in the iPhones, the computers, and all the stuff that they're manufacturing. They don't have enough for their own products. So it's not a matter of them, we're just being a bunch of big jerks. They're just going, we can't let the silver out of China. We can only sell it within our own country because we need to use that to make our cars, our computers, and the computers that they make for Apple to sell to the United States, or the world, I should say. They're like, hey, we don't have the damn silver. And here's the other thing. Not only that, but the silvers aren't in the vaults anymore. Not only that, but the mining companies they're not digging out and producing enough silver to meet the demand. There is no silver. I'm not saying there's no silver, but the demand is higher than what they have and what they can produce. Therefore, physical silver is going up. Now, a lot of people go, no, the silver is crashing. No, it's not physical silver. Now, if you have stock market silver, yeah, it is crashing. Now, here's my point in all this. Watch this. So there's something called COMEX. It's a company that says here's what silver is valued at, right? It's where everyone goes to, etc. So they're now saying, oh no, silver, it went down from $80 down to $70 and I don't know, 5 cents or whatever it is, right? That's not true. That's fake paper. Now the reason why I say fake is because the whole stock market system is a scam. It's fake. It's a fanuzi. It's fanazi. It's not real. It's made up. But people who own physical silver, such as this is called a silver eagle. If you own a silver eagle or 10 ounces, a little bar or whatever, that's going through the roof right now because companies like Tesla, Apple, they are looking for silver and they need silver really, really bad. Our solar panels for the top of your roofs and everything that you use, your cars, your computers, your cell phones, solar panels. There's not enough silver in the market to continue making at the rate that we're making this stuff. In fact, here's what's going to happen. Computers, cell phones, solar panels, cars, the electrical cars that require, pretty much every car now has a computer in it. It's all going to go up. The prices are all going to go up until they can get enough silver, which may happen down the road, but it's looking at 3 to 5 years before. See, another factor is even if they opened up the old mines or found new veins of silver, it will take 3 to 5 years to get the old mines into production. Because I think they said it'll take 1 to 2 years just to put in the, like the infrastructure, the wires, electricity, the dig the holes out and do all the stuff to prep everything. It'll take 3 to 5 years for those mines to make a profit. So here's the point. We don't have enough silver to keep up with the demand, and therefore silver is going to be going up for a year plus. You have an old cell phone, an old computer, keep it because it has silver in it, and you can get that silver out, and it's going to be worth a lot of money in about a year from now, maybe even sooner. Like a lot of money. Not too long ago, silver was something like $27 per ounce, and then over the summer where Victoria bought me and sent me some silver, it was worth $43, I think. It was probably around July or August. I don't remember exactly when I got it. From the summer to yesterday, or 3 or 4 days before that, it skyrocketed up to $80, okay? But you're saying, no, no, they say it's only $70. No, no, that's a lie. That's the paper silver. And here's another thing. When you Google the price of silver, you're not going to find the price of physical silver. You're going to see the price of stock market paper silver, which isn't real because it doesn't exist. So they're leading you to believe it's only worth $70. Now here is the scam. Here is the get out of jail card, kind of like when they kicked Dana White out of their casino. Here, oh, by the way, here's what Dana White did. He goes, "You're seriously kicking me out?" They're like, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, fine. Then from now on, we won't have any of our fights at your hotel." They lost millions because of that. They haven't had another UFC event there for, I think it's been 4 years now or 5 years now. They've lost millions and millions. We're probably talking 20, 30, 40 million dollars. So here's the deal. Companies like banks like JP Morgan, they are sitting on valueless silver stock because they don't have the actual silver and people want it now. So here's what they do. When they realize the loss is going to go over a certain amount, that means that's going to affect their bank and may cause their bank to go down. Well, the US government can't let that happen. So here's what they do. Now watch this. They just come in and say, "Oh, we're changing the rules." I mean, can you imagine if you were losing $50,000? Like, hey, I can't afford to lose that. I'll lose my home. I'll lose my house. I'll lose my business. I can't lose that money. Hey, so I want to change the rules. They will look at you like you're an idiot. They'll be like, "No, sorry, dude, you can't do that." All right, now watch this. Now, because they drove the price down on purpose because they don't have the silver. And here's why they do it. So the people who own stocks, meaning fake, meaning what's called paper silver, not real physical. There's physical silver you hold in your hand, and then there's fake stock market worth, okay? That's paper. So paper silver, they drove down to $70. Now here's why. They're going to come in and they're going to settle up and they're going to, at the end of closing day, let's say they close it at $70. Let's say they do it tomorrow or the next day or whenever. Now what they're going to do is they're going to say, "Hey, we're going to halt this and we're just going to pay you what it's worth in money." But here's the problem with that. So they purposely crashed the paper market to lower it down to $70. They may even push it lower. Right now, physical silver is not worth $70. It's minimum worth over $80 anywhere in the United States right now. It's actually, some people are saying people are going to be buying it for $100 or more. Right now in Japan, Japan is buying per ounce of silver $130 US dollars. So let's say you've got silver that's worth minimum $100 per ounce, or let's say you could say, "Hey, well, I can sell it to Japan for $130, and they're saying, "No, we're going to give you back your stock at $70 per ounce." They're ripping you off, and they know it because they're saving their own ass. The reason why you get into stocks is to sell it at the highest level. Now they're forcing you to say, "Hey, we're going to give you this money back at this amount of money. And we're going to pay you in money." See, they're not saying we're not going to give you your silver. They're saying, "Well, we don't have the silver, but we're going to give you the dollar value for it." And it's like, but that's not the actual real. That's not the actual real dollar value. See, there's a split between the paper value and the physical power. Now, there's a big wide gap happening right now that's never happened before when it comes to silver commodities. In other words, you're getting ripped off. Now, here, I'm going to leave a link to this video. Not this video, this image, but I'm going to leave a link to it. Actually, let me pull up that image. Hold on. Okay, so for this video, which came out today, I'm going to show you a clip right now of what I'm talking about right now because he explains it a lot better. And then I'm going to leave you a link to watch it. This guy, even if it's AI, it breaks things down really, really good. All right, the last thing I want to remind you of, China produces the most amount of silver for the world. So basically, essentially, when the vaults were getting low on physical silver, JP Morgan Bank and other banks, big banks like that would say, "Oh, well, we'll just go to China and we'll just pay for more and we'll stock it back up." Well, here's what happened. China closed all of their selling to any other country. You can't sell out of China right now, okay? 93% of all of their exporters were banned. They made rules so strict that they don't legally qualify for a what do you call it? Hold on. not a federal, but essentially a license to sell outside of the country. So 93% of all of their exporters are stopped because nobody qualifies for it. And of the 7%, they have to go through the ministry. So the ministry essentially is saying, no, we need our silver. So we've closed our banks and our vaults to other countries. It's not going to happen.
Defense contractors, they don't have the political connections of a Tesla. They don't have the balance sheet of an Apple. They relied on the open spot market. They relied on being able to click a button and buy silver at the London fixed price plus 10 cents. That world died today. Now, they are staring at a market where the spot price is $71, but the China price is $110, and the Japan price is $130. They are seeing the global inventory getting sucked into the Asian black hole. This creates a psychological shift called inventory hoarding. In supply chain theory, when a critical component becomes scarce, companies stop ordering just in time and start ordering just in case. They overorder. If they need 10,000 ounces for February, they order 20,000 just to be safe. Because having too much silver is a small cost, storage fees. Having no silver is a fatal cost, factory shutdown. This behavior amplifies the shortage. It creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. As soon as one company starts hoarding, everyone else must hoard, or they will be left with nothing. We are seeing the early signs of this right now. The phantom demand is rising. Orders are being placed not for consumption, but for safety. And this phantom demand is hitting a market that has just lost its biggest supplier. This is the real trigger for the squeeze. The banks can manipulate the paper price on the COMEX because it is a closed loop of digital contracts. But they cannot manipulate the fact that a factory in Ohio needs physical silver to make a cruise missile guidance system, and that silver is currently sitting in a vault in Shanghai that just locked its doors. The bank cannot print a bar of silver, and the bank cannot force China to export. For the first time in history, the Western financial elites are powerless against the physical reality. They can print dollars to bail out the shorts, but those dollars are useless if there is nothing to buy. What good is $1 billion if the seller says, not for sale? This leads to a bifurcation of the industrial base. Companies with factories inside China, like Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory, are safe. They can access the Chinese metal. They can pay the local price and keep running. Companies with factories in the US or Europe are in the kill zone. They are cut off from the Chinese supply. They are forced to source from the shrinking Western pool. This will drive the premiums in the West to match the premiums in the East. It has to. If silver is $130 in Japan, why would a miner in Mexico sell to a US refiner for $71? They won't. They will put it on a ship to Tokyo. Money goes where it is treated best. Commodities go where they are paid the most. Unless the COMEX price rises to match the Asian price, the COMEX will be drained of every single ounce. The miners will bypass New York. The refiners will bypass London. They will sell directly to the desperate buyers in the East. And this brings us back to the banks. Remember in part 2 we said they are not dead because they have tier 1 capital? That is true. They have money. But money cannot solve a logistical blockade. JP Morgan can write a check for $5 billion to cover their short position. But if their client stands for delivery, if the client says, I want the metal, not the cash, JP Morgan is in trouble because JP Morgan cannot get a license to export silver from China either. The armor of capital protects them from insolvency, but it does not protect them from delivery default. It does not protect them from the embarrassment of telling a client, we don't have it. And that is the weak point. That is the thermal exhaust port on the Death Star, the inventory. The banks can handle a price squeeze. They can't handle an inventory squeeze. If the COMEX vaults run dry, if the registered category hits 0, the game stops. The illusion of infinite liquidity breaks. And thanks to the China wall, the replenishment rate for those vaults just dropped to 0. No new metal is coming from the East to save them. They are on their own. They are fighting a war with the ammo they have left in the bunker, and the supply lines have been cut. So how much ammo do they actually have left? How close are we to that 0 moment? We hear numbers thrown around, 100 million ounces, 50 million ounces. But we need to look at the real number, the number that is available for immediate delivery, the registered category. Because when you peel back the layers of the COMEX report, you realize that most of the silver in those vaults doesn't belong to the banks. It belongs to investors who aren't selling. The amount of liquid silver available to stop this panic is terrifyingly small. It is not an ocean. It is a puddle, and the sun is beating down. Let's look at the thin ice. Let's look at the specific inventory data that proves the COMEX is running on fumes. Because when you see how little is actually left, you will understand why the premiums are 80%. You will understand why the market is terrified. Let's open the vault. And when we finally pry open the heavy steel doors of the COMEX depositories in New York, what we find inside is not a fortress of infinite wealth. It is not a mountain of silver bars stacking to the ceiling, ready to flood the market and crush the speculators. What we find is a hollow echo. We find a crime scene where the evidence has been systematically removed, bar by bar, truckload by truckload, until only the dust remains. We need to talk about the number 38 million. According to the latest daily warehouse stock report, which was released quietly while the media was focused on the New Year celebrations, the total amount of registered silver in the COMEX system has fallen to 38,200,000 ounces. Now, to the average person, 38 million ounces sounds like a lot. It sounds like a dragon's hoard. But you have to look at this number through the lens of the global market. The world consumes roughly 1,100,000,000 ounces of silver every single year. That averages out to about 3 million ounces of consumption every single day. So, do the math. 38 million ounces divided by 3 million ounces per day. 12 days. That is it. The global benchmark for the price of silver, the exchange that supposedly sets the value for the entire planet, is sitting on less than 2 weeks of global supply. If the mines stopped producing tomorrow, or if the transport ships stopped sailing, the COMEX would be bone dry in 12 days. This is not a buffer. This is not a reserve. This is thin ice. And the ice is cracking under the weight of the demand we just discussed. But the situation is actually much worse than that headline number suggests, because the banks play a shell game with the inventory data to make it look healthier than it is. They will point to the total inventory, which is usually around 270 million ounces. They say, look, there is plenty of silver. Panic is unnecessary. But they are lying to you by omission, because inside that total number, there are two categories, eligible and registered. Registered is the metal that is actually available for delivery. It has a warrant attached to it. It is ready to be sold to fulfill a contract. That is the 38 million ounces. Eligible is the rest. It is roughly 230 million ounces. But eligible simply means the metal meets the purity standards and is sitting in the vault. It does not mean it is for sale. That metal belongs to private investors. It belongs to family offices. It belongs to people like you and me who simply pay the vault fee to store it there. The banks cannot touch it. They cannot deliver it to cover their shorts unless the owner decides to sell. And ask yourself, if you own silver in a COMEX vault and you see the price in Japan is $130, but the bank wants to pay you $71, are you going to sell? No, you're going to hold. Or you're going to withdraw it. So the eligible pile is effectively frozen. It is dead weight. The only liquidity in the system is that tiny, shrinking pile of 38 million ounces in the registered category. This is where the economic law of gravity takes over. We call it Gresham's Law. You may have learned it in Econ 101. Bad money drives out good. But in the context of the silver market, it means fake paper prices drive out real physical metal. Or when a commodity is priced artificially low, when it is subsidized by paper manipulation, the market will drain the physical supply until there's nothing left. Think about it. The COMEX is essentially a store that is selling silver for $71. The rest of the world, Japan, China, the UAE, values that same silver at $100 or more. What happens when a store sells iPhones for $500 when they are worth $1,000 everywhere else? You get a run on the store. Smart money, arbitrageurs, industrial buyers, sovereign wealth funds will stand for delivery on the COMEX, not because they want to crash the system, but because it is the cheapest place on earth to buy metal. They are looting the vault legally. They are using the bank's own suppression scheme to strip mine the exchange of its assets. This is why the inventory is plummeting. It is not an accident. It is the direct mathematical consequence of the price suppression. The banks are victims of their own success. They suppressed the price so effectively that they made silver the most undervalued asset on the planet, and now the world is backing up the truck to take it away from them. Every time they smash the price down to $71 to save their short positions, they inadvertently ring the dinner bell for the physical buyers. And they are shouting, flash sale, silver at a discount. And the buyers are responding. Withdrawals are accelerating. We are seeing loadout notices, requests to physically remove metal from the vault system, hitting levels we haven't seen since the silver squeeze of 2021. But this time, the inventory is starting from a much lower base. And here is the terrifying part for the shorts, the refill. Mechanism is broken. In the past, when registered stocks got this low, down to 30 million ounces, the price would rise a little and metal would flow in from London or China to replenish the stock. The eligible holders would be tempted to sell. The miners would ship extra bars. But today, we just established in part 3 that China is closed. No metal is coming from the east. And the eligible holders, they're looking at the inflation data. They're looking at the war drums. They're looking at the premiums. They're not selling at $71. They're waiting for triple digits. So the refill isn't happening. The drain is one way. It is a bathtub with the drain open and the faucet turned off. It is a mathematical certainty that the water level will hit 0. So what happens when it hits zero? What happens when registered drops from 38 million to 10 million and then to zero? Does the world end? Does the COMEX explode? No, the system protects itself. This is where the paper game reveals its final trick. The exchange will likely declare that they are suspending physical delivery. They will cite logistical bottlenecks or market irregularities. They will invoke the force majeure clause in the contract.
This is the world's first
market irregularities. They will invoke the force majeure clause in the contract, and they will say to the people waiting for their metal, "We are very sorry. We cannot give you the silver bars, but good news, we will give you the cash equivalent." They will settle the contract at $71. They will force you to take the paper currency that you were trying to escape. This is the moment of default. It won't be called a default on CNN. They will call it a settlement procedure. But to anyone who knows what money is, it is a default. If you bought a car and the dealership took your money and then said, "Sorry, no car, here's your money back," you would be furious, but at least you have your money. But in the silver market, getting your money back is a disaster, because while you are holding your $71 of cash settlement, the real price of silver in the physical market, the price you have to pay to actually get metal, will be gapping to $150. You will be priced out forever. You will be left holding a bag of depreciating fiat currency while the asset class leaves the solar system. This is why.
And this is how they screw out people who own stocks when they don't have the silver to actually back it up. This is why stocks is such a risky game, because even though the actual price of physical silver is going up, if you have paper stock, it's going down. And it's kind of a dumb, like, wait, that doesn't make sense. It does, because fake is fake and real is real. Now, here's the deal. Let's say you knew a month ago that, China was talking about doing this, but our government said, no, they'll never do that. They're never going to close the doors. There's no way that they can do that. Well, they have to do it if they want to keep making profit on the products that they make and sell to other countries, such as Tesla cars, computers, Apple, blah, blah, blah. So they don't have a choice. Now, if you were a smart investor and you had stock in silver, you would be wise to pay attention to what's going on with silver. And if you did, and I heard this a month ago, see, all you would have had to do is sell it about, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And you could have got the actual silver for it, held onto it today, and boom, now that $79 stock is now in physical silver, would be worth $100 to $130 right now. And in a couple days, possibly maybe less than a month or less than 2 weeks, that physical silver is going to be worth $150. So if you pulled your stock out and asked for it in silver, or you would have took the money and bought silver at that rate, then it would have skyrocketed. All right, so here's my point. Everything in the world is being, what's the word I'm looking at? It's being revealed. It's in other words, real is forcing out fake, whereas fake used to shove down real. You ever heard, let me see if I can find this one guy. Hold on. So there's a guy on Facebook, he's got a lot of shorts on there. He goes, "They can't handle the real because you're the real." And you defeated them. And he's like, he's a black guy. He talks about narcissist abuse and empaths. And for years, even though I've been doing these videos, I'm like, what do you mean the real? So now today, it's funny, but this whole silver thing, it's like I understand what they're saying is narcissist. Those people in the demonic realm, or whatever you want to call it, they made a fake reality where they can thrive. They cannot thrive in the real reality. This is why, okay, have you ever walked into a store and someone got mad at you and you've never seen them in their life, and they might even have yelled at you and you're like, who's that guy? What's going on here? It's because your light is on. When you go into the world, you wake people up and bring people into reality. And all of a sudden, narcissists get terrified because they can't compete in the real world because they're too lazy. Long story short, just like this image, reality is bursting through the fakeness. It's bursting through the falseness, even on the 3D physical level now. I think what's happening is awesome. I'm really glad that reality is coming back into reality, that the falseness is being pushed out. Do you know why you've been told your whole life that, you're different. It's because you're real. Now, you know what? Honestly, I've heard this and I understand it now in a way that I've never understood it in my life. Most people, we're talking 80% people, maybe even 87, 88% of people are fake. And they look at you like, yeah, you're not like us. You're different. Yeah, we're real. All they do is lie to themselves about lying to themselves about lying about what they're lying about. That's all most people do is they lie about. And here you walk in and you just speak the truth. Even if it's about something, it could be the delicious taste of something. You just say, oh yeah, this has more of a strawberry flavor, where everyone else says, oh, it's kind of a cherry flavor. And you say, tastes like strawberry. And they all look at you like, wow, you're different, man. Because you didn't just blindly go along with the lie. Even though you didn't reveal someone, say, oh, shame on you. Nothing at all. The very little thing like that will make everyone go, whoa, what's wrong with this guy? And you're like, what do you mean what's wrong with you? What did I do? And you told the truth. Here's the deal. Most times you don't even actually have to say the truth. You just by being there in the present moment, being in the truth of reality. See, just by seeing things for the way they are, hearing things for the way they are, it freaks people out. They can't deal with it. They get really nervous being around it. Reality is finally coming to the forefront. What's going to happen is a shift in society is happening. It's going to be less and less people living in the false light. And so they're going to be the ones where everyone's like, well, what's wrong with that person? Why are they like that? That's it, guys. God bless you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this video enlightened you. If you liked the video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go and make a comment. And remember, you can always support this channel by buying one of my men or women's dating relationship coaching books, hiring me, or making a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.